Welcome, everyone. And I was walking back home today, and I had a little thought, right? So I've been watching My Hero Academia for the past 3 months, and I've been reading the manga, and currently I'm all the way up to date, right? And the information that I'm going to be going over has been out in the manga for a while, but I haven't actually put all of it together all this time, right? And I thought of it after the recent anime episode came out, because the coolest thing is, right, all this that I'm going to be talking about is not spoilers anymore, as long as you're up to date with the anime, right? So spoiler territory, watch the latest episode as of June 14th, 2021. And you won't be spoiled for anything. At least I don't think you will. Even if you will, it won't be anything major. But basically, right, so Deku, the user of One for All, like the ninth user, okay, he is being told that he also, we are going to be going over spoilers for I think it's like the first My Hero Academia movie. Just heads up, right? So, but Deku's being told that he is going to be, or at least he could be, the last user of One for All, just from the fact that basically you shouldn't be giving it to anyone who doesn't have a quirk anymore, okay? Just because it's basically been stockpiled too much. And the thing is, right, that's not necessarily true. And with the latest anime episode, this is actually confirmed, right? This isn't like a theory or anything like that. This is confirmed. So, what do I mean, right? Basically, with the latest anime episode, it's been confirmed that One for All can not only be reset back to the original user, but it can also be duplicated. Now, what do I mean by this, right? So, in the latest episode of in the latest episode of My Hero Academia, or well, not the latest episode, but the episode before this one. What happens is Monoma, right here, who has the quirk copy, he copies One for All. But he's not able to actually use it, okay? And this freaks Deku out because he thinks that he's going to explode, because All Might had warned Deku that, like, he can't be just using One for All just likewise, right? Like, he needs to train his body, and obviously, like, Monoma, he's not muscular at all, right? Like, if Monoma had the power that Deku had, he would just fucking explode, go all over the walls. But Monoma explained something here that explained this in the recent episode, right? And I have highlighted everything. So everything in green is something that Deku is saying, and everything in white is something that Monoma is saying. Everything in yellow is something important to going over everything that we're going to be talking about, how to reset the quirk and duplicate it. So Deku asks Monoma after. So what happens, right, is Monoma is brought forth to Eri because they want to try to get Monoma to copy Eri's quirk and then basically teach her how to use it by using her quirk. But he's not actually able to do this. So what happens when he does this is he is able to copy the quirk, but Monoma quickly realizes that Eri's quirk is a stockpiling one. Now we don't know what this means, right? But this doesn't matter, okay? Like, Eri's quirk doesn't matter. We're not talking about Eri today, okay? But he confirms right after this by Deku he refers to Eri's quirk as a blank, and he confirms everything else after by his response. So Deku asks Monoma What do you mean by blank? And he says, it means it's the same type as yours. Your quirk's a stockpiling one too, right? I can copy the nature of the quirk itself. If it's a quirk where you can accumulate something and change it into energy, I can't copy what needs to be accumulated. I see. And so Deku responds, I see. For example, Fat Gum's quirk is one where you have to stockpile fat. Even if Monoma copies it, he'd still be skinny. And then Monoma responds, the same logic goes for when I copied your quirk, but I couldn't release any power. And then Deku he thinks to himself, if it hadn't been for that logic, Monoma would have exploded into pieces. So what is this telling us right here, right? This is telling us that Monoma, it's confirmed he actually did have one for all, right? This isn't like some kind of a thing where like Monoma knew he had one for all. He just couldn't actually use the power that Deku had, but that's because like he gets it right exactly right here. He asks, your quirk's a stockpiling one too, right? And while this isn't necessarily exactly true, it's pretty much what is going on, right? See, in Deku's case, for like Deku's relative perspective, it's not necessarily a stockpiling quirk. But for the nature of the quirk itself, it is a stockpiling quirk. From back to the first user, it took his power and gave his power to the next user. So that next user then got their strength amplified by the strength of the first user. And then that user passed it on to the next user. And then that user got their strength amplified by the second user and the first user. And so on, right? This is explained very clearly that One for All works like this. Until you're at the point where, like, All Might is, like, super buff strong. He's able to use literally just physical power because everything has been amplified that much. And that also explains why All Might was not able to, like, All Might wasn't having too bad of a time using it, but when Deku ended up using it, he was getting hurt, right? Because it's starting to actually like overflow. This also explains why Monoma isn't getting hurt at all, because Monoma, nothing is happening. So when Monoma copies this quirk, it's not that he's not able to use it. It's that he has become the first user of One for All, right? So theoretically, Monoma could pass the quirk. There's absolutely nothing that says he couldn't. In fact, if we go ahead and look at the wiki for One for All, and we go and look at the first user, Yoichi Shigaraki, and so we can see right here that, let's see here, One for All was formed from a fusion of his given quirk and the power stockpiling quirk All for One had forced upon him, which means he was basically given this quirk, okay, by One for All. And which is very, very One for All is very, very similar to Monoma. I mean, Monoma he can copy quirks. That's basically what All for One can do. But so let's go over the theory of how this could work out, right? So how exactly could Monoma pass down the quirk and everything? Like, how could he create a duplicate One for All? And it's very simple, right? So let's say that Monoma has and we're going to use Bakugo as an example here. This is why I said spoiler for I think it's the first movie, because Bakugo, not only has he had One for All, but he knows how it works. So, but that's what ends up happening in the first movie, is he temporarily gets One for All. He becomes fucking insanely powerful. Jesus, like he is beyond the most powerful user of One for All. Beyond even more powerful than All Might. And so, but anyway, let's say Monoma gets One for All from Deku by copying it. And he can only use it for 10 minutes, right? But he doesn't need to use it for 10 minutes. He just needs to, like, copy it and then say, hey, Bakugo, eat my hair, right? And so he then has Bakugo eat his hair. Congratulations, Bakugo is now effectively the first user of One for All, but the first user of a brand new One for All lineage. And we know this because, or maybe he'd be the second user, I don't know, but we know this because Deku didn't lose One for All. So, like, when he copied One for All, like, he nothing went wrong, right? There wasn't any kind of situation where Deku lost it to Monoma. It was really what ended up happening was it duplicated. And so, ultimately, this would leave Bakugo with One for All. Assuming, like, there's two situations that would happen. And one of them would be that Monoma, just nothing happens to Monoma, and he passes down the quirk to Bakugo, but Bakugo is only able to use the quirk for 10 minutes. Hopefully, that is not what ends up happening, right? But let's say then that what if he's able to pass it down and it stays to him, right? Like how One for All or All for One for All would work. And so then that brings into the question, okay, does that mean that he carries with him any quirks that Monoma had at the time? Because can he copy up to 4 quirks? I think he can. It's something like that. But let's just say he copied a bunch of quirks and then he passes them all down to Bakugo, right? But does anything happen? Like, does he get the copy quirk also? Or does it only pass down One for All? Because what we know is that at least after that, if it passes down again, it would definitely pass down the explosion quirk. Yeah, but this is probably the best way that you could go about duplicating and resetting the quirk, because again, this is all information aside from like the very last part of what happens when someone eats Monoma's hair after he's copied One for All. This is all confirmed information. None of this is theory. The only bit that's actually theory is the last part. Everything else is all confirmed in actual canon. So it's said by Monoma himself. So he can copy the nature of the quirk itself. And what is the nature of the quirk of One for All? The nature of the quirk of One for All is to pass down power. So it's not actually to use the power itself. So, but yeah, that's pretty much everything. I just wanted to go and get my thoughts out there. Because, I mean, I feel like I just had a fucking Einstein moment right now, right? So, anyway, have a great night.